Oh my god, dude. So, I'm revamping my blog, and I wrote a post for the first time in like 2 years. And I got so angry because I haven't touched my blog in almost 2 years. And I didn't realize that they'd done a whole bunch of updates on the back ends. So I'm sitting there trying to access the back end of the blog so that I can post for the first time in ages. And I couldn't get into it. And it kept going, no user exists. This user doesn't exist. I was using like the username that I could find on like my end client, and I was using like the email that I knew was originally attached to it, and I was just going crazy. And finally it goes, would you like to use the wordpress.com? I was like, but I'm not on wordpress.com anymore. No, that was just like everything when you use like a WordPress template, it just automatically uses WordPress as a thing. Long story short, my don't just leave your blog sitting there for like 2 years doing nothing and then try to act smart like you know what you're doing. Like, stay up to date on your stuff. Do it. Like, oh, it would have saved me so much time. And like, I couldn't go back to like the web developer that I'd used when I first made that blog because I was the web developer. So, roll intro. I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Deanna. And we're
the Halfwit Sisters.
What is our first topic today?
Well, normally we do an episode setup. So our first topic is what we're talking about on this episode. Oh, we can do a quick recap of last episode, which is we got heated.
We were still frosty about it.
Huh?
I'm still frosty about it.
You're still salty. Well, you also edited the episode last night.
Yeah.
So you're still fresh with it, and I haven't gone back and fixed the stuff because I had some drama over the weekend, which we'll talk about also here coming up in our episode. So we were talking about editing, and we got a little heated over some of the scripts that I had made changes to. So if you haven't had a chance to see that, at the very end of the episode, there will be an end card, and you can go click on that, and you can go and definitely look down in the description of that episode from last week and click where I'm definitely going to put Rebeca versus DJ. Because we definitely went at it for a couple of seconds there.
A couple minutes, yeah. The last, like, half hour of it is just us going back and forth on that.
Yeah. And I'm just like, calm down. I get it. Like, and it's not like it's the first time that I've ever gone at it with a writer, because I've definitely had writers come back to me and it's like, why did you make these changes? And I'm like, because they were redundant, or because your context was off, or because this was a thing, right? But I fully expect a writer to come at me with like a really good reason as to why this is a thing. And so that was what you were doing. But also, like, I want my writers to be calm about it too. And you just kind of went, I'm not being calm about this, you son of a...
So what I realized watching back was you had said something that made me mad early in the discussion, and you just got building on it without I don't think you meant to, but you just kept building on that same point. And I was like, that's why I was so mad. So by the time I started defending myself, it was too late. There was no calm because I had been calm the entire lead up.
Mm-hmm.
And then you really said something that made me mad.
And I don't know what it is, to be honest, because I haven't had a chance to watch that end of the episode. My internet crashed by the time I was reaching that part of the episode. So, and like, again, it's just like such the editor in me where I'm just like, I know that I just immediately go into like a phase where I'm like, this sucks, so I'm just going to cut it out. Right. And so I know for me, I might get too blunt. And because you're also like my sister, I'm just like, well, she's just going to have to deal with it.
Yeah. You like, said that when I said something about you deleting the entire script so I can't like see what I did to fix the corrections. You're just like, well, you're just going to have to get used to that. I was like, no, I don't have to get used to people deleting my entire script because that's not how I work.
And I realized that like after the whole fact of everything, I realized like when I was editing that, normally what I do is I turned on suggestions. And during that whole thing, I didn't turn on suggestions. And so that was 100% my fault. And that's why I was like, all right, just go in there and put down the bullet points because I made the mistake and I will fix it. Right. Yeah. And you have gone back in their sense and put in the bullet points. And this is a rehash of what happened. So now you get a little preview on like how heated that discussion went. Right. Like I fully recognize I made a mistake. I forgot to put in a crucial thing. There was some drama that had happened. It didn't leave me in like a good headspace. And I made a mistake. Like I'm fully recognizing that I did that. And I think towards the end of the episode, I was like, I think I made this mistake. Or I made it like after the fact.
You made that realization, but you never said it.
Yeah, because you don't admit your mistakes to the people that you're having to work. Right? And that's another thing. Like I used to lead, and I know I say this quite a bit, but I used to run a company. And one of the things you don't do sometimes is admit when you make a mistake, because then people are like, ha ha, weakness. and like they use that to like their advantage. I had like some really mean contractors, and you don't show them like there's that saying, don't show them that you sweat, And so I think I had hunkered down and fell back into an old habit of mine, which is like, don't show. Don't show them. But I did like realize afterwards, I made a mistake. Just put down the bullet points and I'll fix it when I can. So moving forward to like not go through the whole like make sure I don't delete other people's work, automatically put on suggestions. And even like when we get into some of these things and things that we do in the future, like that's another thing that we can do to mitigate these things and the problems as well, is when we write something like this, when we're sharing a document, you can actually set the document up to only be suggestions, meaning I would not be able to edit in any sort of way where I delete it at all. Right. So if we were to bring in other editors and say, hey, you need to edit this, we can give them only the ability to add suggestions and not the ability, or even just the ability to put comments, and never be able to delete anything out of a document. Like Google has that ability. There's a couple of other sites that have that ability. Right. So those are things we can do in the future. Now, that being said, this didn't go into the episode setup. This was a rehash of kind of what happened. And now you get, like I said, you get a sneak peek as into like how heated we did get.
So remember to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our episodes, so that you just get to watch us get into it again and go, yep, I saw that last week.
Right. And I'm sure you're probably going to see us get heated in some other episodes. We're definitely passionate about some things. Like I think if we had really thought about it, maybe next episode both of us could do like verses on what we both thought about Mulan, because I did see your TikTok about how you like Mulan.
I do.
Right, I did not. So, so we could definitely do a versus on like how you like Mulan and how I think Mulan is a piece of crap. So and that's the live action, and she's already got this like, oh, I'm taking you fucking down.
Here's my problem. Everyone has that opinion. I'm like, it's really not that bad. Like, everyone went into it thinking it was supposed to be like the freaking animated movie, and I'm like, no, they were never going to redo that because they knew better.
But I didn't have that. DJ, I went in with the lowest expectations, and I still think it's a piece of crap. We're not going to get into it this episode. Let's save it for the next episode. Here you go, people. Next episode, subscribe, like, subscribe, and like. Put that little bell icon so you can hear us versus. There we go. There's a new section. Versus. Becca versus, or like big sis versus little sis.
Movie review.
Yes. And we'll go over like how we both felt about Mulan. And I'm sure it might get a little heated about like how we felt about that movie in particular. Okay. So our episode setup for today, ding-a-little-doo. That's my very bad attempt at like doing our transition thing. Our episode setup today isn't actually very long. We're going to talk about your new computer, and you have a little bit of announcement about that. And then we're going to get into why we don't know anything about romance. And then we'll talk about your storyboarding. So it doesn't sound like a long episode, but I have a feeling why we don't know romance is going to be actually kind of longer than we think. So let's get into it. DJ, tell us about your new computer.
So, and this will eventually be a whole video, speed video on my channel of I bought all these beautiful computer parts to build a computer because what you can do with a custom built computer and what it can do in the future is just better than pre-built. So I bought a computer. I bought all the parts and I put it all together, and then I called you crying because it wouldn't turn on.
And then I immediately turned you over to my roommates.
Yeah. And I called them, and I'm talking through them, and I'm talking to them. I'm showing them pictures. I'm talking to one of my coworkers, and I'm showing him pictures. And he's like, oh, well, that sounds like power issue. And I'm like, it's really not a power issue. I know it's not a power issue because I have more than enough watts. And I tried all these different things, and it just wasn't working. And then I had another guy come over, and I actually came over to my place, and he looked at it. That stupid motherboard. It's a piece of crap. It wouldn't turn on. It apparently needs a special case, which, if they had just put in the freaking description, it would have been fine.
Yep, keep talking.
But no, they didn't put that. So anyone who buys it just like is sitting there going, I don't know why it doesn't work. So the guy goes off and gets me another motherboard, which reminds me I have to run to the UPS and drop the other one off so I can return it. And I buy this behemoth of a CPU cooler. It's giant. My thing will never overheat, apparently, because it is giant and I have so many fans in there. But it's finally all built. And it makes me so excited because it's so pretty. And I'll put a picture on the thing now. But it's finally built, so I'll be able to start editing on that computer soon. And everything will be faster because I hate editing on this laptop because it's so slow. But yeah, but it's there and it's gorgeous. And I texted everyone, I was like, I built a computer. And technically I helped on this build. The first time I built it did not succeed because it was a faulty motherboard. The second time I just sat on the floor eating chips and salsa as my boyfriend built it for me.
Say that again.
As my boyfriend built it for me.
Yes. She's off the market, folks.
I'm finally off the market. After
It's funny.
years.
You get your boyfriend right as I break up with my girlfriend.
Yeah. I mean, it happens.
So, well, first off, congratulations. I got to meet him yesterday while he was finishing the touches on your computer.
Yeah. You had called for something, and I was like, oh, I'm just sitting here as my boyfriend is building my computer because I didn't want to do it anymore.
Right. And you were talking, you were trying not to mention him last episode, but you said like something and you cut yourself off before you mentioned him, but there was this little bit of a smile that popped out because you're like, ah! And I was just like, oh, you want to say it so bad, don't you? You're blushing. Oh, she's blushing.
He is so sweet. And it makes me so happy because, and it's not the reason like I just jumped into a relationship. I've been very lonely. Like I am completely independent. I am perfectly capable of taking care of myself. I can take myself on dates and, do all the coupley things, but by myself.
Right.
But it still doesn't mean that I want to do that all the time. And so I had been like on the dating apps, and every time I go open them up, I'm just like, I hate people, and then I close them back down.
Yeah, on like a lot of the like, so my friend will send me like a lot of the TikTok people that will go onto like Tinder or like Bumble and find like the guys that have like the really like, if you're not a princess looking for a prince, or like really like long ass bios talking about like how much of a stud they are, and then they look like really skinny white dudes. And you're just like, what? Or like and she's like, I hate men. I was like, no, dude, you have not read some of the women bios that I have come across. Some of them are just as bad. So we'll get into like some romance, and this is why I said like this is a kind of like a multi-tier talk sort of thing, and we might break that down into like its own little subtopics as we go along here. But like it can get wild. So I feel I feel for you. I feel for you. So congrats.
Thank you. I've been like slowly telling all my coworkers, I'm like, I got a boyfriend, and they're just like, oh, you're so adorable.
Well, it's a feat. We feel like it's a feat for us sometimes,
Truly.
So your computer's built. It's faster than what your laptop is.
Yes, and I'm excited to, like, I know it all turns on. I still have to download the operating system and do all that. Like, I have the stick with it all on there. I just haven't, like, plugged it into the TV, which I'm using as my monitor, and, like, gotten it started. Might be something I do today, or it might be something I do next week when my boyfriend comes back and visits me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. I look forward to seeing how wild you get with them edits. Now that you're gonna have like a beast of a computer to do some stuff with. Because we were talking about how we wish, like, when we were getting heated, like, we did, like, a cut that went versus. Like, a cut that was, like, versus.
Yeah. Because right now, like, even putting in, like, the text that I do can take forever. And I'm just like, it makes me so annoyed. Yeah,
and I always tend to go with pre-built stuff because I just building computers has never been something that I've been really interested in. So I get like top of the line computers and then I turn them into like powerful writing machines. And like for some of them, like this Apple computer that I it wasn't even like a choice of mine to get when I went for my master's degree. They told me like I have to have it, even though I had like this already very powerful computer with enough of the programs on there, or I could easily have gone and bought the programs. They were like, no, you have to have this Apple computer. And here's the thing. The programs that I had to have was Final Draft. Final Draft is an industry standard for writing scripts, TV scripts, film scripts, right? And I was like, why do I need to have Final Draft? Like, I could just go out there and buy it. Why do I need to get a whole new computer just to have one freaking program? And they're like, whoa, I'm like, no. They're like, it's part of your tuition thing. I'm like, I don't need it. Just so that's what part of my $31,000 tuition was. It's just that computer. College is a scam sometimes, I tell you. A lot of people feel like that. Look, I understand. I went for all the way for a master's degree. I'm still thinking of going back for a doctorate, so,
You're gonna be Dr. Easton.
Well, yeah, and I mean, this is a whole different discussion. We're not going to get into it, but I kind of just want the doctorate just so I can say I'm Dr. Easton.
Hey.
Anyways. Okay. So, yes. Let's go ahead and switch into our romance talk. We're not talking about the romance just because you got a boyfriend and I broke up with my girlfriend. We're not doing that. Originally, we weren't even going to mention that you got a boyfriend when we had decided that we were going to talk on this. Cat hair everywhere. The reason why we were bringing up romance is because we realized that we have a couple characters that have romantic feelings for each other, and even in some of my own personal work where I have a couple characters that also have romantic feelings. And a lot of time I feel like my writings kind of come to a halting stop because I'm like, how am I even going to write this romance? I don't know what romance looks like. But then you and I were talking about it, and the reason why romance came up is because you said, this is where you say what you say.
I'm not sure which sentence you're talking about.
Romance, you're not romantic.
Oh, yeah. So I'm not romantic. I do not understand.
I don't know if your mic's working.
So, for the viewers at home, you might realize we are in a completely different outfit.
Round 2. That's because we watched back our previous one and we're like, what is romance? What is romance? What is romance? Like half of the time. And we can do so much better.
So, we're going to start off with, what is romance?
Right. So the reason why we're bringing up this particular topic is because DJ has a new relationship.
Yeah.
Congratulations. We originally weren't even going to talk about this because of that, but it's a topic that's been bothering us for a long time. As we've grown up, we realize that we're not romantic in any sort of way, or that we don't even really understand what romance is. And this brought up our question, like, cue, like what we said, like, cue it again. And so we did a little bit of research on it to kind of get, like, why we've never really understood it. And a lot of times that's because we've only ever seen it in media. And media doesn't really do a great portrayal of it, not in ways that we can connect with. And for examples, well, let's just go through a few of them.
Yeah, so media does the montagey bits of romance, and they do the cliches and the tropes, and not all of those are healthy at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what is romance and what does that mean? And also, we might want to mention the 5 love languages.
I feel like we just started the same thing again by saying it like 20 times in the first, what is this?
2 seconds.
Minute.
But it's still better than our last take. Romance is supposed to be this thing that happens and is glorious and makes you feel happy and yada yada yada, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
that's not something we've ever really experienced in our lifetime. Not in, at least for me, it's not something I've ever really experienced, or in the ways that people said I would experience in any of the relationships I've ever had. Not, and I've been with men and women, and never have I really had the head over heels feelings. Never have I had that really floaty feeling that I've ever heard. And I've definitely never had that. What was the one in one of these things? The falling in love at first sight sort of thing. Like, I've never experienced any of those at all.
Yeah.
What about you, Deej?
I can't say I have either. It's just, have I cared for someone? Yes. Not saying I haven't. Sorry, ex.
Exes, yeah.
But like, the whole thing of like, getting like the butterflies in the stomach every time you think of them, and like blushing every time you talk about them. That's just not the way I'm built. And I say that in full well that that's not how people work. But like, some people find romance very easy. They are super sweet and romantic, and they want to show care, and that's like their love language is just like doing tiny little things and showing affection and doing all the things. Not how I show affection. Not how I know how to show affection.
Mm-hmm.
So
this brought us to looking at, how have we seen romance in media? I can say personally, like, I've never really connected. Again, I'm a lesbian. I've never connected with the heterosexual ones. Even still, like, I've gone to look at LGBT stuff, and even some of the LGBT things I've never really connected with either. And that's usually just because a lot of LGBT things that I have seen have been mostly guys. And yes, I have seen warm is the bluest or blue is the warmest color. I have seen that. I enjoyed that. But a lot of, and maybe I'm just looking in the wrong place. Maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just looking in the wrong place. But I have, most of the stuff that I come across is generally male related, like boy love. I haven't really come across women love stuff. So we were looking through some things on, like, what are constant tropes that we come across in media that that has kind of warped our perception of what romance is. You want to go through some of them, Deej?
Sure. So I had found this BuzzFeed article. It'll be linked. 19 annoying as hell cliches about romance that TV shows and movies need to stop.
Mm-hmm.
the meeting the one only for them or you to be taken, and subsequently that word, cheating on the other because you get to be with your true love.
Yeah. The other one that I was thinking, this is one that's very much shown a lot. The guy being super persistent and is being idealized as romantic. Super persistent. That's not very romantic for me. I can tell you that. That's like the guys that are the ones that are kind of super stalkerish for me. The guy that doesn't take the no for an answer. The ones that you say, hey, I'm not interested. Thank you for playing, but I don't want to do anything. But they keep but they keep following you around, and people are like, just give him a chance. And you're like, no. I told him no. I gave him no, but he's not taking the no, and no should be the answer that he should deal with. I've been in those situations. Those are the situations that are also the scariest sometimes. Those are also the ones where you feel like the guy's stalking you the most often. But media tends to take those ones and say, oh, look how sweet he's trying to be. Look how cute he or she, I should say he or she, because there are some women that will go after some guys persistently. You know?
And I wore them down.
Yes, that's not attractive. No.
Yeah.
What's another one they had there? Frozen did a good take on this one. People falling in love whilst barely knowing each other.
Yeah, which I think Frozen is a great example of how true love,
almost a good example,
does not have to be about like a relationship, but like true love can just be like familial love.
Yes.
I was like, what are you talking about? It's a great example of like true love doesn't have to be about a significant other. It can be about truly loving your family.
Yes. Yes.
They jumped on that before I finished.
My head was immediately going to like how she started falling in love with Christian. What was the other name? Kristoff. But then I right as I said it, I was like, wait a second. No, they build that relationship up over 2 movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my brain went the wrong way. Anyways, so delete what I said last time. But they went really hard. I think also Pixar and Disney have started doing a lot of tongue-in-cheek humor at like old Disney things that they used to do.
Yeah.
So
they falling in love at first sight.
Yes. Falling in love at first sight, that's still a major thing. Or falling in love whilst barely knowing each other. Female romantic interest. This is another one. Never being allowed to know how attractive they are. This is so huge. This is so huge. I feel like this is probably one that's really...
Yeah.
This is miscongeniality.
Give me a sec. Hold on.
This is miscongeniality. Remember that? You remember that movie?
Yeah. Sorry, I had to do the whole librarian.
Yes. But yes. Yes. That's the whole thing. The nerdy girl who gets remade. Oh, that Jumanji movie. The newer Jumanji movie. Not the newest Jumanji movie, but the one, the first, then second.
The first remake.
Yes.
Yes. But that was funny because they're just like
hamming it up.
Yeah, hamming it up, and like you have to be like but yeah,
work a little with that.
But so like all these things in media with like a character's crappy past being forgotten because now they're in love again, or it didn't matter because they're XYZ or something like that.
Yeah.
Or two characters hating each other and then falling in love.
Yeah. So no wonder why we're sitting here like, well, what is romantic behavior? And like, how do we even show that to the people we're interested in? Like, we can't even look to media and say, like, this is the example to follow. And then people are like, well, what about your parents?
Mom and dad are a great example of a
good marriage. Right. Our parents are a great example of a good marriage. I wouldn't necessarily say they are a great example of what a romantic love has always been implied with them. We've seen our parents go on like date nights every now and then, but we've never.
And occasionally they do some like cheesy, gushy stuff where we're just like, ugh.
Yes, but we've never really seen them do romantic gestures to each other or recognize what their romantic gestures are. Their love language has always been like they take care of one another and they support each other in whatever their goal was. The other thing to know is that we grew up in the military, so a lot of that support in our mind has always come from our mother, who's had to like rebuild herself every time we moved to a new location, right? So our family was very much centered around our dad's career as he moved from location to location. So understand that our household was built around my dad's career and not so much our mother's career or within that. So we don't really have a great grasp on what might be a typical suburban grew up in one place household might be, other than what we've seen in TV. And even of the friends that we have had when we've lived in the States and we've met people who have grown up in one location, it's like living in foreign land.
Yeah. And the reason this is so important isn't just because like I'm in a new relationship or anything like that. It's because we have Parker and Skylar, who I've written into the script, Skylar having a crush on Parker. And my headcanon is it's reciprocated, but they're kind of dorky and shy about it. But like, how do you write that in?
Right. How do you show this interest between the two, and how does the other recuperate it? So far in the script, you have Belladonna making fun of Skylar about it, but you don't have an interaction between Parker and Belladonna about it, or even know that, and we don't have even that Belladonna knows if Parker is interested in it. Right, is whether or not Parker is interested in it. So, so on top of that is like, well, how do you show interest without having it come out right with them going, oh, he likes you, KISS, like, how do you do something like this? And even in my own personal work, I have characters that are interested in each other, and I feel like a lot of times my work comes to like a crashing halt because I just get stuck in like, I don't have a clue on how to like show that these characters are interested in each other. And I oftentimes end up dropping out the romance entirely. Like I'll start building it and then I'll just drop it because I'm like, I have no confidence in making that happen. So it doesn't.
Yeah.
Here's the wisp and then it's gone.
Use the cliches and the tropes because one, they're cliches and tropes for a reason, but also they're not usually the healthiest relationships. At all in media. Very few times will you have what looks to actually be a healthy relationship of people supporting each other. And usually those are already established relationships.
Yeah, and well, one example that one of the articles that we had shows is how they have like marriage always looking like a terrible, horrible thing.
Yeah.
One of the shows that we watched where marriage seemed like a great support was Last Man Standing.
Yeah.
That the two was that with guy from guy who plays Buzz Lightyear. Tim the Toolman Taylor. Forget what his wife is named. But anyways, so The Last Man Standing actually shows a really good, solid family unit with the mom and the dad taking on a lot of the responsibilities.
Mike and Vanessa Baxter, Tim Allen and Nancy Travis.
There you go. And so the two of them are like, they show like they're a great family unit, and then they are supporting their, you know, their kids who often bring in the problems of what they have to deal with for that episode. So
yeah,
that's a great example of what a good one is.
Yeah. And even like going back to like kid shows, it usually doesn't show like much relationship between the parents other than we're the parents, we love each other. Okay, kids, bye.
Yeah. Do you remember
if one of the parents is involved in like the action, the other parent's like disappears.
Do you remember The Proud Family?
Yes.
The Proud Family was a POC Disney original show. And the dad and the mom in there were like solid. And again, it was one of those shows where the kids brought in most of the problems, but the mom and the dad were super solid and like supporting the children and making sure they got their crap together. Like that was another good solid show. But again, like bringing it back to where we're talking on, that's not what we're looking at. Like we have two people interested in each other, and we're struggling with the idea of like, how do you show attraction? How do you show romance? How do you show two people interested in each other and the building to what we're either like becomes a relationship or what doesn't become a relationship, and then a fallout if it doesn't. Like, how do you build that? And looking at our current examples, do we want to go with those or do we want to do better? Because we clearly don't like what we already see in the media. One, because part of that is like we don't connect with, especially me, I don't connect with those heterosexual things. I don't. And we also have a character, like Parker is gender fluid. He does not, he, she, they, oh my gosh, they do not connect with that. They definitely are not going to connect with those same things, right? So and that brings up another question and I often get asked this a lot as a lesbian's, like, how do lesbians have relationships? Right? Like, how do you even court each other? And that's a great question, because I'm going to tell you, it's not really any different than how a man and a woman might court each other. The only difference is sometimes I look at a woman and I go, are you? You know? Like that's like the am I shooting my shot at the wrong woman? Right? So that's another thing that we're also trying to like navigate there.
Yeah.
So
and you also like want to be careful and we had this conversation before on one of our podcasts with the LGBTQ conversation, and I had been talking to one of my coworkers about it, and he is kind of that same opinion of a lot of the time when you're like writing LGBTQ content, it's like kind of their sexuality is pivotal to who they are as a person, when in real life it's usually not.
Yeah.
So it's like you're writing these things and it's like it's a romance. I'm gay, I'm gay, I'm gay. That's important. I'm gay. And
Right.
really, like, in real life, that's not what anyone does.
So that is like the Will and Grace kind of thing. If you've ever seen Will and Grace, and I know they brought it back at one point, but Will and Grace, you had a character who was very much he wasn't a very effeminate gay. Who his friend was a very effeminate gay. And when I say effeminate gay, I mean the hey, oh my god, right? That's the effeminate gay. And then the Will wasn't typically that. So a lot of times when people are like thinking of the typical gay, they're thinking of the yes bitch slay kind of guy. And that's not what Parker is. And in fact, when you look at when you go back and look at Parker as we have designed them, they're not in any way like that. They're very much calm, cool, collected when they talked. They don't exhibit any sort of like anything like that. They're just a person. So that what your coworker says is very much the way the media portrays LGBT people. And that's a conversation for another time, like how media represents certain ethnicities, certain genders, certain idealisms, right? Because we can even bring in like how feminism is portrayed in media and stuff like that. Like we can go into a whole thing on that, but right now we're focused on like how romance is and why we struggle with romance in general between you and I. Whoa, not like that. Between like, whoa, not like that. Between like
I love
how
you, but not like that.
yeah, no. Between like how our views on romance, and I let my roommates listen to our last recording on it, and they both looked at me afterwards, and they're like, "Why are your guys' view on romance so warped?" And it's just like.
Because we have a great example of what marriage is, but not a great example of what romance is. Our romance examples are movies or like Hallmark movies, which let me say, I love me a good Hallmark movie, but I just kind of want to put up one of the TikTok one ladies that I've been watching and like the guy who duets it. Have I sent you any of those? I'll have to see if I can find one because they are hilarious. But that's basically what here.
Yeah.
I'll have a black coffee. No snickerdoodle today, Gregory. I'm not in the Christmas spirit. When Grandma died last year, Christmas died with her.
Jessica?
Wait, Jeffrey?
Grandma's Christmas tree seller. I got this.
No, I'll buy my own coffee.
Please.
I don't have time for love. I do working.
Stupid single dad.
Wait, you're a single dad? I forgot to have kids, 'cause
Amnesia?
working.
Oh.
Wait!
What?
Jeffrey?
Yes?
I want to share your kid with you. Whoa, what was that?
It's snowing!
The fat coffee shop owner, Gregory, was Santa!
Up next, join us for I Stubbed My Mistletoe, where a big city girl finds love in a small town. Yep, it's a different movie.
It's just. So this is where we're at. Like, you're in your relationship, I'm out of my relationship, and we're just kind of, we don't know.
Yes.
And we can look and blame the media. We can look and say, well, because of like our experiences, we've never had like great understandings of how it is. We can talk about love languages and how there are different kinds of them based on a person. We can go through all of those things, but at the end of the day, like what comes down to it is, where do you begin? And that's the question that we're left on. So, here's what we're asking to our viewers. To you, what is romance? What is attraction? And what's your love language? Put that down in the comment section. Let's have a whole big talk on it. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to know your point of views. And now, back to our last. Now, we'll return you to the episode that we were originally in.
I think we now go in. What did we talk about after that?
It was the storyboarding.
Yeah. So now on to storyboarding.
So let's go ahead and jump into the next topic because we're kind of getting down to the wire here. And get to our project update on Belladonna. We approved a few of the scripts, which meant that they went over to storyboarding. So DJ.
Storyboarding time is my lovely little thing. And so I'll put up the pictures here. I storyboarded 7 of them. I don't have it right in front of me. I can just look it on my phone. I sent you the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And they are stick figures.
They're just like 3 panels.
Yeah. Some of them are a little bit more. Some of them are 2 panels. Yeah. Like some of them are 2 panels. Some of them are more.
I just want to point out the fact, because there's a lot of people that might be looking at our stuff. I just want to point out the fact, in no way is our stuff actually like industry standard.
No.
I just want to make this fact, because if you go and look back at our scripts, because I know we've shown them, that is not industry standard on how you write scripts. At all.
Not at all.
Absolutely not. If I was to actually go back and write those scripts the way that they should be industry standard, they would be vastly different. What DJ and it has written, those are usually, that's just dialogue script. 100%, all that is dialogue. If I was to go and write them, they would be fleshed out way more than what you've seen. And the storyboards that you're about to see, those are also not really industry standard, but those are like what we do. Those are quick storyboards to get us going,
so that we can see what we're doing. Like the scripts are solely me and you. They're not really needed for anyone else, because who else will see them are, you'll see just your dialogue on the TikTok video.
Right.
You won't need to see the entire script and all the motions, because the action will be up to you to duet or what have you. If I was to write them because I knew there would be another actor and they needed to do that, it would be completely different, because I would have to put in more contacts that I really should be putting in for you, but I
really do wish you'd put in more context, and we would skip so much of that argument from last time.
And like the storyboarding, it's just how I do storyboarding is, okay, I'm looking at how it is framed and what I'm majority doing in there, and anything that like needs to happen. So like the first one, always read the manual. You can see it's only 2 things, because it's going to be 2 scenes. Same exact thing. You have Belladonna at the computer, and then you get a body wipe, and then you have 2 little things going like this, and you see Belladonna between them. And possibly, if I can find a red button to push there.
Just go to Staples and get like one of their things.
Right?
You can find them on Amazon pretty cheap.
Yeah. But so it's like, that's how that storyboard is written out. I have the dialogue that is going to be on that scene. It's just so that when I go back through to actually film it, I have an idea of what I was thinking on those scripts.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you see me having fleshed out 7 of these. With stick figures. Because I can't draw. With stick figures, because I can't draw.
Oh. So there you go. That about ends our discussion for today. So we've got some of them storyboarded. I've got to go fix our Trello and move stuff around. I'm definitely going to be breaking up our stuff. So I need things to be viewed differently. So I'm going to be breaking up some things differently so that I can categorize it for myself. So don't worry if you suddenly see a whole bunch of documents in our folders. That's just because my brain has to see things in a different manner. Okay, that being said, I still need to make a couple changes. I have my job tasked me with finishing a whole bunch of packets. I've got there are 17 left. I had to finish 200. Okay, I have 17 left. So that will be done hopefully today, and unless she gives me some more, I will be able to get some other stuff done. I will be able to focus in. I started doing some mental math on the decision trees for our Belladonna project. So you should start seeing some of that over the next couple of days. I'll try and get some pictures of that. I have this big whiteboard that I'm going to do some stuff, and I found an app for Google Docs that I can do some decision trees as well for. So definitely going to start seeing some of the game start appearing. So yay, guys! I know everybody's been like, when are we going to start seeing something for the game? Soon. I have been working on it. I've had so much drama going on in my life, both with my relationship, which is now over, and with a couple of family members, which still is has been resolved. Isn't over, but been resolved, and that will now be finished. So remember to subscribe, ring the bell icon, and hit that like button. And if you would like to join our conversation and let us know how you view romance, what you think are romantic gestures, or have any questions about the Belladonna project, please put it in the comment section below. We would love to have a section of our podcast dedicated to the community, i.e. you. But until then, we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. Bye.